All right, so everyone's been talking about this whole OpenAI thing, right?
Yeah, it's been quite the year for them, hasn't it?
Huge changes. I mean, going from a nonprofit with like this big vision to suddenly becoming, well, a profit-making machine.
Yeah.
And of course, we got to talk about Elon Musk and all the drama there.
Of course.
But before we get into all that, maybe we should like set the stage a little bit. What exactly is OpenAI, and why has this whole shift been so controversial?
Right. So at its core, OpenAI is this leading artificial intelligence research lab. They're the minds behind some really groundbreaking technology.
For sure.
And they kind of burst onto the scene back in 2015 with a pretty audacious goal.
Okay.
Artificial General Intelligence, or AGI.
AGI, right, like
Yeah.
the kind of AI that can like solve problems across tons of different areas, not just like one specific task.
Exactly. Think of it as a more like generalized intelligence, not just specialized.
Right.
And their initial goal, to make sure that AGI benefits all of humanity.
So they wanted to be like the good guys of AI, like the ones who put safety and transparency first, even ahead of making money.
Yeah, that was the idea.
Open source for the good of everyone. Was
Hmm.
that a radical idea back then?
It was definitely a bold move, especially considering the AI landscape back then.
Like 2015,
Yeah, think about it. Big tech companies like Google, Facebook,
right?
they were pouring money into AI research, but a lot of it was happening behind closed doors.
Oh, so very secretive.
Yeah, very much so. So OpenAI's commitment to this open source approach, it was a direct challenge to that.
Interesting.
They really wanted to make AI knowledge and the benefits, accessible to everyone.
It almost sounds kind of utopian. But we know things changed, and now everyone's wondering, did OpenAI lose its way? Or was this like profit-driven turn just inevitable? To figure that out, let's rewind back to the beginning.
Okay, so back in 2015, OpenAI started with this group of idealists, and that included Elon Musk, by the way.
Oh, right, of
Yeah.
course.
And they all really believed that AGI shouldn't be controlled by any single corporation or government, for that matter.
Yeah, that makes sense. Too much power for one entity.
Exactly. And this core belief really shaped their initial structure as a nonprofit. They really emphasized transparency and collaboration,
Right.
and they wanted to ensure that the development of AGI, which has, potentially immense power, would be a force for good in the world.
They were aiming high, for sure. But those lofty goals usually come with a pretty hefty price tag, right?
Oh, absolutely. By 2019, the financial realities of actually building AGI set in.
Ah, so the dream met the reality of money.
Exactly. It's incredibly resource intensive. You need massive computing power. The best talent and the sheer scale of the research is just huge.
Yeah, that all adds up.
And they initially aimed to raise $1 billion,
Wow, $1 billion.
but they fell really short. They only managed to get about 130 million.
Whoa, that is a big gap. So was this like the point where they started to, stray from that original path? Like did the lack of funds force their hand?
It was definitely a turning point. To try to bridge that funding gap and keep pursuing their goals, they decided to create a for-profit arm alongside the original nonprofit.
Ah, so they could get more investors on board.
Precisely. And that move allowed them to attract some serious investment, especially from Microsoft,
Right, Microsoft.
who ended up pouring billions of dollars into the venture.
Billions. That's not just an investment that's like putting a lot of faith in OpenAI's potential. What did Microsoft get in return for all that cash?
Well, in exchange for their investment, Microsoft secured exclusive access to OpenAI's cutting-edge technology. And this isn't just any tech, right? This is potentially the key to unlocking the most transformative technology of this century.
Yeah, for sure.
So for Microsoft, it was this golden opportunity to be at the very forefront of the whole AI revolution.
Makes sense. So OpenAI got the resources to move forward, but at what cost? This partnership kind of raises a big question. Was this the moment that their idealistic vision started to crumble under the, weight of the real world?
It's a question that has definitely sparked a lot of debate. Yeah.
On one hand, the influx of resources really fueled their progress. They made breakthroughs that might not have been possible otherwise.
That's true.
But on the other hand, it also set the stage for what happened in 2024. The bombshell that really ignited all the controversy.
Right, the 2024 bombshell. That's where things get really interesting. Let's talk about that and all the fallout that came after.
All right, so in 2024, OpenAI announced a major restructuring.
Okay.
They were removing the nonprofit's control over the for-profit side of the organization.
So basically, the new investors who were mainly driven by profit wanted to, loosen the ethical restrictions.
Exactly. They wanted to focus on maximizing profits.
And of course, this is where Elon Musk comes back into the picture, right, with some very strong opinion.
You know him. Even though he wasn't directly involved with OpenAI anymore, he was furious about this shift.
Yeah.
He even went so far as to file an injunction to try and stop the whole transition.
Right. Claiming that OpenAI had betrayed its initial promises to donors and the public, and that really brought the whole conflict into the public eye.
Okay, so let's break down Musk's objections here. Were they just sour grapes, or was there something more to it?
His accusations went beyond just personal grievances.
Okay.
He argued that OpenAI had fundamentally shifted from its original mission of ensuring AGI benefits everyone.
Right.
He claimed they had broken their word by prioritizing profit over their commitment to transparency and ethical development.
Broken promises. That's a serious accusation.
It is.
But that wasn't his only issue, was it?
No, he also raised concerns about OpenAI potentially stifling competition in the AI field, accusing them and Microsoft of engaging in monopolistic practices, claiming they were actively discouraging investments in any rival companies.
Wow.
And this is where things get even more interesting because reports suggest they were even discouraging investment in Musk's own AI venture XAI.
Oh, so it's getting personal.
Very much so.
So we've got this rivalry and a battle for dominance in the AI world. But I remember Musk has always been vocal about the potential dangers of AI, too. Right? Did that play a role in his objections?
Absolutely. That leads to his third and probably his most significant accusation.
Okay.
He argued that this relentless pursuit of profit in AI development makes it way more likely that dangerous, uncontrolled AI could emerge.
Right.
He framed this as not just a betrayal of their mission, but as a potential threat to humanity itself.
Okay, so we've got broken promises, potential monopoly, and a looming existential threat. Those are some pretty heavy accusations.
They are.
But what about Microsoft in all of this? Are they the savior that enabled OpenAI's progress, or are they like a shadowy force pulling strings behind the scenes?
That's the question that's been swirling around since they got involved.
Yeah.
And it's undeniable that their resources, their financial backing, their expertise has been crucial for OpenAI to get to where they are.
For sure.
But critics, and maybe even Musk himself, see a darker side to this whole partnership.
So did Microsoft essentially buy control over the future of AI with those billions?
It's complicated. It's not that simple.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. Their involvement could be stifling competition and innovation,
Right.
giving them an unfair advantage. But on the other hand, this kind of collaboration might have been necessary to advance AI research at the pace we're seeing.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, there are valid arguments on both sides.
It seems like this whole situation raises some really fundamental questions about power control and conflicting priorities in AI development. With this intertwined structure of a nonprofit and for-profit arm, it's hard to know who's really calling the shots and what their goals are.
You're absolutely right. And the OpenAI story has become like this microcosm of the broader ethical dilemmas we face in the world of AI.
Right.
It forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about the potential risks and challenges that come with such transformative technology.
And those ethical dilemmas are exactly what we're going to delve into next. Is it even possible for a for-profit company to handle the development of AGI safely and responsibly? Is profit always going to be at odds with ethical considerations? And how do we even ensure fair and equal access to the potential benefits of AGI?
Big question.
These are all critical questions we'll be tackling right after this quick break.
It's kind of wild how OpenAI's story is like this reflection of how a lot of people feel about tech in general.
Yeah, like that band you loved way back when they were just starting out.
Right.
Then they signed that huge record deal.
Right.
And all of a sudden, their music just sounds different.
Exactly.
The question is, was this shift inevitable for OpenAI? Could they have stayed true to that original vision, as a nonprofit in the super competitive world of AI?
That's the million-dollar question. Let's try to see things from Microsoft's side for a second.
Okay.
How would you defend their role in all of this?
Well, you could argue that Microsoft's investment was exactly what OpenAI needed to really take off.
Okay, I see that.
I mean, think about the resources they brought in, computing power engineers, a global network. Without that support, maybe OpenAI would just stalled out, and who knows what advancements we'd be missing out on.
That's a good point. Their involvement definitely boosted OpenAI's research.
Right.
And let's not forget, Microsoft has been pushing for ethical guidelines in AI for years now.
That's true.
So they could say that their influence would actually steer OpenAI toward a more cautious and responsible path.
So Microsoft is the voice of reason guiding the development of this potentially world-changing tech.
Right.
But the skepticism is still there. Can we really trust them to put ethics over profit when the stakes are this high?
That's the core issue, isn't it? Trust. And this whole thing has eroded the trust of a lot of people who initially supported OpenAI's whole open source AI for good approach.
Yeah, a lot of people feel disillusioned by this shift.
For sure.
So where does that leave us? What's next for OpenAI? And maybe even more importantly, what does this whole saga tell us about the future of AI development in general?
Well, for now, the legal battle over OpenAI's restructuring is far from over.
Oh, it's going to drag on.
Musk's injunction was just the beginning.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of scrutiny from regulators, ethicists, and the public. This isn't just happening in courtrooms and boardrooms, it's playing out in the court of public opinion, too.
It feels like OpenAI's story is kind of like a microcosm of the bigger debate about where AI is headed.
Yeah, I see that.
They're like that canary in the coal mine, making us face these ethical questions head on.
That's a great way to put it. The decisions being made now by OpenAI, Microsoft governments around the world are going to have ripple effects for years to come.
It's kind of overwhelming to think about, you know, we're talking about shaping the future of intelligence itself. But this isn't just some abstract conversation for tech giants and politicians. This impacts everyone. What does this mean for the average person who's not a billionaire or an AI researcher?
It means staying informed and engaged. Don't just passively accept what you read in the headlines. Dig a little deeper question. Those assumptions form your own opinions. The future of AGI is too important to be left in the hands of just a few people.
I like that. Don't just be a consumer of technology, be an active participant in shaping the world you want to live in. And this isn't some distant sci-fi scenario. This is happening now.
Exactly. AI is already part of our lives in so many ways, and its influence is only going to grow.
So what can people do to stay informed and be a part of this conversation?
Stay curious. Read articles from different sources, listen to podcasts that offer diverse perspectives, and get involved in online discussions. And don't be afraid to ask the tough questions.
Like what?
Like, what are the potential consequences of this technology? Who benefits and who gets left behind? How can we make sure AI is used ethically and for the greater good?
Those are the questions we need to be asking.
Absolutely.
Knowledge is power, especially in a world that's being shaped by technology more and more every day. We've covered a lot, but I think there's one more piece of this puzzle we haven't talked about yet.
What's that?
Elon Musk's own venture into the AI world with his company xAI.
Right, XAI.
Remember his accusation about OpenAI stifling competition?
Yeah.
It seems like Musk is really determined to offer an alternative vision for AI, and it's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out.
You're right. The emergence of XAI definitely adds another layer to this already complex situation.
It does.
It brings up even more questions.
Like what?
Like, is XAI truly different, or will it face the same ethical and practical challenges as OpenAI? Is this just a rivalry between billionaires, or are there fundamentally different approaches to AI development at play here?
It feels like this deep dive just keeps getting deeper.
It does.
We need to spend some time unpacking Musk's xAI and what it means for the bigger picture.
I agree. It's a topic that deserves its own deep dive. And luckily for our listeners, that's exactly what we're going to do next.
All right, so we've talked about OpenAI and all the drama there, but now let's shift gears and talk about Elon Musk's answer to all of this. xAI.
Right, Musk's big move.
So they're trying to offer like a different path for AI, right?
Yeah.
But what does that actually look like? What's xAI's endgame?
Well, they've basically positioned themselves as this like direct rival to OpenAI, claiming to care more about understanding the universe, like the fundamental nature of reality, than just, narrow AI applications.
I remember reading something about that.
Or, as Musk puts it, building a godlike AI.
Right, godlike AI. That's pretty ambitious even for Elon Musk.
It is.
So is there anything behind all that talk? What's their actual approach to AI?
This is where it gets interesting. They're really focused on something called Truth GPT.
Truth GPT?
Yeah, it's their attempt to develop AI that's like inherently truth-seeking, unbiased and aligned with human values.
Huh. So trying to bake ethics right into the code.
Exactly. And they're also looking into what they call explainable AI,
Okay.
which is all about making the decision-making processes of these complex systems more transparent so we can understand how they actually work.
So it sounds like they're trying to address some of the ethical concerns we've been talking about with OpenAI.
Yeah, they are.
But is this a genuine effort to build a safer, more responsible AI, or is it just really good marketing?
It's tough to say for sure at this point. Some experts think it's a sincere attempt to steer AI in a better direction, as a counter to OpenAI's more commercial approach.
Yeah, I see that.
But others are more skeptical. They see it as just a publicity stunt or Musk's way of trying to stay on top in the AI world.
So two competing visions for the future of AI, each with their own promises and their own risks.
Exactly. And it brings up some big questions.
Like what?
Well, like, is competition in the AI field actually a good thing? Will it lead to more innovation, safer outcomes, or could it start this dangerous race to build more powerful AI without any safeguards?
That's what worries me. And how do we even define safeguards when we're dealing with something as powerful as AGI? This feels like uncharted territory, trying to create rules for technology
Yeah.
that could completely change everything.
It's a huge challenge. It's not just about the tech itself, but about building an ethical framework to guide how we develop and use these systems.
Right.
And that framework can't just be decided by tech companies or governments. We need a global conversation about this involving ethicists, philosophers, policymakers, and everyday people.
It's everyone's responsibility.
It is. We all have a stake in shaping the future of AI.
Wow, this deep dive has been a whirlwind.
It has.
From OpenAI's early days to their controversial changes. Elon Musk's accusations, Microsoft's role, and now XAI and their vision for the future. What are the key takeaways here for our listeners?
The biggest takeaway, I think, is that the future of AI isn't set in stone.
Right.
It's being shaped right now by companies, governments, researchers, and individuals. The OpenAI story really shows us that technology isn't neutral. It reflects the values of the people who create it.
And the choices we make about AI today will have a huge impact for years to come. It's a powerful reminder that we all have a part to play in shaping the future we want. So what's your final thought for our listeners as they navigate this AI-powered world?
Stay curious. Stay informed and keep asking the tough questions.
Love that.
Don't be afraid to get involved and make your voice heard. Remember, the future of AI isn't something that just happens to us. We're all creating it together.
Well said. This has been an amazing conversation, and I hope everyone listening feels inspired to keep learning about this incredible field of AI. Remember, the future isn't set in stone. It's up to all of us to shape it wisely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.